Bryan Davis. What are you feeling right now?
There's like heat like on my ears, and then I feel like there's no way you could have known what you told me. I'm like, yes, Lord. It's
What do you
so
feel now? What do you
true.
feel now that you didn't feel before?
I feel
Come up and share your test. Come up and share.
I feel
Here.
like
Go ahead. Tell us what was it like before and what's it like now?
I came here expecting, and I feel like I received. I had a lot of questions, and I was feeling like, Lord, I need a prophetic word, and I feel like I received. So I feel like I received.
And how he feels changed for you physically before you came in.
I'm not too sure about physically, but it's more like internally.
What changed internally inside you?
I feel like I have answers to questions, and I feel like my prayers are answered, and I feel like I know what to do and where to go, and to continue to trust Him at this point.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Anybody else got a testimony they'd like to share? Anybody else got anything they'd like to share? Okay. This is my first segment of Embracing Your Miracle with Prophet Bryan Davis. So we'll be doing prophetic meetings every Thursday night. We'll be doing meetings every Thursday evening. I'd like to thank everybody coming out. How did you find out about it tonight?
Sister Kim.
Okay. That's cool. Good. Okay. Do you got anything to share?
No, I heard about it from you.
Okay. During the worship time and time of ministry, what did you feel God did for you?
And lots of heaviness just came off. I feel a lot lighter now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's powerful prophetic word.
How about yourself?
I'm done.
Okay. Thank you for coming, everybody. I'm going to do a message tonight called How to Embrace the Call of God. See, when we talk about the finger of God, the finger of God is mentioned in the Bible 4 times. See, the finger of God always comes through through a prophet of God. So it brings the exactness in because the anointing of God brings the details and the exactness of a situation. So when a prophet of God speaks about a situation, you know that it's God speaking, not the other person. Because too many times in churches, we're hyping people, but we're not helping and shifting people. So we're hyping people to get stirring up into their souls. And then people are being prostituted and being taken advantage of financially. And there's no change in their lives. And they're preaching from the pulpit, you're going to become a millionaire tomorrow, or you're going to become a millionaire in 2 weeks. Sow a seed to meet your need. Your offering ends your suffering. And then you sow a seed of maybe $500 and $1,000. A year, 2 years down the road, your life's still in turmoil and it's still a mess. But you had a prophet not prophesying, but prophesying. Because when it becomes to, see, if God has nothing to say, then a prophet has nothing to say. And we got to be able to be a people that, as prophetic people, when we're giving a word from God, it must be pure. There must be fruit and there must be evidence to that word.
Amen.
On my radio program, Embracing Your Miracle, on G-Power FM, I had a lady who had HIV, full-blown AIDS. I prayed for the person on Tuesday. They got out of bed Thursday. When they fell out of bed, all the AIDS fell out their body. They went into, I told them to go to a doctor, get checked out. They went to a doctor and got checked out. Medically 100% AIDS-free. Another lady was blind since birth. She couldn't see. I prayed for her, the power of God, and she now sees 20/20. Another lady was blind since birth. And then she was crippled since birth. And as I prayed for the person, she popped out of a wheelchair for the first time in her life, and she ran around her house. See, there must be evidence. When you're giving a prophetic word, there must be evidence to that. It must be real. But sometimes we have to learn how to embrace the call of God. Sometimes you have to move forward, even when people don't support you. And sometimes in Nehemiah chapter 4, as Nehemiah was rebuilding the walls. Sometimes we're trying to rebuild our lives. We have those symbolics in our lives that speak against us and down at us. You'll never be in ministry. You're not ready. Right? You'll never get remarried because you're a single mother and you have kids. So you have extra baggage. Nobody would ever want to have anything to do with a single mom. That's our lies. See, the word lie means letting in evil. So things like that happen to us. And even in my own personal life, I remember I was 19 years old, adult high school in Ottawa. The school psychiatrist wanted to see me because I told him I was running a Bible school, the adult high school, and I told him that God speaks to me. So him being a psychiatrist, he thought I was like gone to the wind, right? And he said, Bryan, you'll never amount to anything, so you better get a trade because you'll never amount to anything. But today I'm a business owner. I run my own company. I sit here and I run my own company, right? And God has done great things for me. And you'll even get people, and sometimes I almost understand, you don't know drama and you don't know trouble until you've encountered church trouble and church drama, and then you know what drama and trouble is all about. And so even the devil will bring people that you go to church with to even speak against you and down at you. But we always understand, always recognize we don't deal with personalities, we deal with principalities. So sometimes we have to look at the spirit, that symbolic spirit that speaks. People say, you'll never become because. So even people say, you'll never be a minister. You're not at this level, you'll never be a minister. See, it becomes then the test of, see, understand one thing. Before God will use you, He will test you to qualify you. And even in my own personal life, when I started I went on Gospel Faith TV. I went to an African church, and they didn't even believe in me and support me when I was on Gospel Faith television. But I knew that God spoke to me and told me to do this. So I stayed faithful. I stayed consistent at it. And I even went to a church where people were laughing at me and mocking at me, even in church. But I stayed consistent in what I was doing. And then I got another open door for another African radio station came at me. See, one thing about God, God will always get us ready for what He's called to do, and we can't be stopped by people.
Amen.
So then, because I wasn't being embraced by the church, God took me out of the church so He could train me Himself.
Amen.
And I went through a time where I had a major prophet tell me he was going to personally train me to be in ministry, and I was really excited. Because this guy knew Benny Hinn, he knew all the big names in the church, so I figured, wow, this is a great open door for me. This guy's going to train me, he's going to mentor me, and he's going to develop me. Needless to know that I know that prophet gave that word to make himself look good, and he didn't care about building me to make me look good. And it was a real major disappointment in my life, and I didn't understand why. Why did I have to go through this? Because God wanted to teach me that He wanted to train me Himself. That not to put my eyes upon man and be validated by man, but let God do the training and the developing He had for me. So He took me on the radio. I went from 60 people up to 600 people at start. Again, a live FM. I went from there and I went to G-Power FM. And it just started developing me. I started getting better. I started getting more fluent. I started learning how to put a sermon together. I learned how to pray over a message, right? I learned how to do these types of things. And then I went from that and went to Frequency 5 FM, and I went from my first session, I had 100 people listen to me. When I finished with Frequency 5, I had 18,000 people hitting my site every Thursday night while I was on the radio. See, sometimes you have to become an outcast with man, so you become an incast with God. And sometimes people are so busy laughing at us, mocking us, and making fun of us, but they don't realize how much God is shaping us and building us. Because whatever you practice in private will always be rewarded in public. And that soul system that says, you got to become like this, and you have to be like this. And they put their own will upon you. And I had to push by that. See, in 1 Samuel 17, David had a Goliath in his life, right? Sometimes God will bring challenges to you to reveal what He's placed within inside you. So He uses trouble to bring you out the best of you, what He's placed within inside you. Psalm 144:1. He trains my hands for battle and my fingers to do war. So God brings trouble to us to train us to reign. Because when God brings that trouble to you, it reveals what's inside you. And even in times of life, when people speak against you, do you know who your greatest gifts in life are? Anybody have an idea? Your haters. Because if they have to take that much time and energy and effort to tell you what you are not, then it reveals what you are. So your greatest gifts are people who speak up against you, who laugh at you, who mock at you. Because those very people that mock you and make fun of you are when God starts elevating you, they'll wonder, how did you get to that place? And that's how God uses that. See, then God develops character, right? Stability brings credibility. If you have no stability, you have no credibility. See, what's important in life is not gift. The fruit of God must always outweigh the gift of God, because the fruit of God brings the character and nature of God. And the fruit of God must always speak louder than the gift of God. We must be a people. I know what we do. Tonight we did a long time in worship, right? Because I'm more about presence than gift. Because I was even at a time in my life when I first started, my first opportunity I got to do prophetic stuff was in a church. And I was so full of myself that I couldn't even see past myself. I was all about talent and skill and ability and my knowledge. I know this and I know that because I went to Bible school and got great marks in Bible school. But I had no depth inside me because I had no revelation that God was giving me. And I had to get beyond my head. But sometimes in life, sometimes in ministry, you have to fall before you can fly. You see, if you don't know yourself, then how